So in this video, we'll be discussing arrays. Now, arrays are the most commonly used data types in your app. And what they help you do is organize your app's data. So all those types that we talked about in that last video, from strings to booleans to integers, doubles, all of those can be stored inside arrays, and they are stored inside arrays. You can think of them as actual containers or list of elements. So in this video, we'll actually be learning how to inspect the array, how to add to the array, how to remove from the array, and also how to access your elements inside of the array. All right, so let's discuss how an array is actually created. So just like a normal element, you want to set it to be either a constant or a variable, name it, and then you want it to equal with these square brackets, and then you can keep it an empty bracket or you can actually put data inside. In the first one, I went ahead and told it to be a type data and then set it to be an empty array. And then down here, this is a constant type of streets, and these are strings, so it's an array of strings. And this is also an array of strings, however, it is a variable. And if you remember, you can change the variable, you cannot change the constants. So let's go ahead and talk about how you can test and see if an array is empty or not. So we're going to go ahead and try this number one here. So let's go ahead and type out numbers. And then if you do the dot is empty, go ahead and hit play. You'll see true, meaning yes, this is an empty array. So let's go ahead and add some numbers here. 1, 5, 15, 3, and 28. Okay, now let's see if this changes to false, because it should not be empty any longer. There it is. So now it's telling you, no, this is not an empty array. Okay, and a lot of this is done with logic. So as far as loops and things go, you can check, hey, if this array is empty, add it here, or whatever you'd like in your app. This is empty is used a ton though. Okay, now the next thing we want to do as far as inspecting the array is we want to go ahead and do the number of elements in an array. And you use this all the time. And it's one of my favorite things when working with an array, as I use it quite often. So go ahead and do your numbers again. And then we're going to do a dot count. So it's going to count how many are in here. Hit play and you'll see 5. Let's see if that's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is correct. So let's go ahead and remove 15. So now you should only have 4 numbers in here. Let's see if it knows that. And it does. So now it's only seeing 4. So the dot count is used a lot. And another thing you want to know is inside arrays, each of these are an index, but they don't start like a normal count. If you were to count from 1 to 10, they don't start at 1. They start at 0. So the indexes for this one here would be 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you'll need to know that a little bit later in this video, and I'll explain. Okay, so now let's go ahead to accessing these elements inside the array. So the first one is how to access the first and the last element. So let's go ahead and just look at these types of streets. So do types of streets, and then we want to go first. So dot first. And now what do you think is going to show up over here? Take a look. It's going to show you road. So look at types of streets. Is the first one road? It absolutely is. Okay, now let's look at types of streets and do last. See, they have a last. There it is. So what do you guess that's going to be? You think boulevard, then you are absolutely correct. It's going to go to the very last item or element in that array and grab it. And that's what it's showing up. Okay? Now let's look at random element here. Underneath the accessing elements, you'll see that. So that looks like this. You want to type in your array, and then you want to start typing in random. And you'll see the random element. So I'm going to add a couple more, or at least one more. So we can say valley here. And then let's see, that look a little nicer. Now let's see what this does. Random, we're going to hit play. and that spits out lane here. Okay, now let's do it again. Now it's road. Okay, one more time. Now it's lane again. So it's just a random element. It'll go throughout your array and select something randomly and then spit it out. So that, again, just like this is empty, whenever you're doing logic within your app, this .random comes in handy. So it's a nice little tidbit to know. Okay, so now from there, we're going to look at adding elements to your array, which is the reason why I put a variable and a constant, because as you know, you cannot add to the constant, which I'll show you here. So let's do types again, and then let's do the first one, which is an append. We're going to append the element. We got to make sure we do the double quotes because this is a string. Okay, and then let's type in another valley. Because here's another thing that I didn't say. You can have the same word. So you can have two lanes or two valleys inside of here. It's not going to give you an error there, but it is going to give you an error because this is a let constant. So that's the error we're getting. So I'll prove that here. Go ahead and exit that, and we're going to use this actual variable array we have here because we are able to change that. So we'll do names dot append. Append, and then we'll do the same one. So see Sarah, let's use Sarah again, and we're going to append. Now see, it says Ron, Sarah, Tom, Beth, and Brian. When you do an append, it goes to the very last index. So go ahead and do this, and you'll see Sarah's here, but Sarah's also here. So keep that in mind. And I want to go ahead and change this to Jack because I don't want to have two of the same. So there's Jack, and you'll see Jack takes Sarah's spot over here. So now you have an index of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be Jack. And you're like, well, how do you know that, or how can you tell that? Well, let's look at this. So you do names, and you do your square brackets. You can actually go in here and pick out whatever one you want. So if you're thinking Jack's right here and Jack is the sixth one, let's go ahead and do 6 and see what it says. There's an error. And this will actually break your app if you do this because it's trying to reach something that doesn't exist because it starts at 0. So we don't have 6. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you do 5, it'll fix that and it'll actually spit out Jack's name over here. So keep that in mind. That's super important there. Okay. So another way if you want to add to the element or add to the array and not just to the end like we did with the append, then that's very, very easy. All you do is you type in your array's names, and then you want to type in insert at. So we'll do Jill. Jack and Jill only makes sense. Now this integer is going to be that index. So where do you want it? Let's say we want it between Sarah and Tom. So that would be 3, right? Let's see. Between Sarah and Tom, we didn't get that. Why? Because 3 would be 0, 1, 2, 3. It'd be between Tom and Beth, which is exactly where Jill showed up. So it shows 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, but really it's 1, 2, 3, 4 would be what we were thinking. So if we wanted it in between there, we need to add that as 4, not as 3, and then we'll put it where we want it. So again, I'm stressing this a lot because it's a very, very big mistake that a lot of new people come in with arrays and make. Start from 0 with these indexes, not from 1, and you'll save yourself a lot of headache and troubleshooting. Okay, so now let's go to removing and then wrap up this video. So removing, there's a couple of ways you can do this. So let's do names again and just type in remove, and you'll see remove all, but we're going to first do this, remove at, and just like insert. So let's say we know Jill is at 4. Okay, let's remove her. So let's do 4 again. We'll play and you'll see Jill is gone. And then now let's do the print statement. And inside these parentheses, let's go ahead and print out names and see what, I need an S, and see what it prints. So you'll see Jill is no longer in here. Also over here, Jill is gone. Okay. The next way you can do this is you can do names dot remove. Didn't want that. I wanted remove last. And you can see right here. So who's last? That's Jack, right? Let's see. Name Jack. And then we're going to go ahead and print again names. And you see this right here. And it's still seeing Jack because it's up here. You have to go and do the same print statement, which I'll copy it and I'll paste it down here for it to know that now this one has been removed. So then you'll see Jack is going to be gone. Jack is now gone. The first one is there with Jack. The second print statement, Jack is now removed. And then the last one I wanted to show you. So as we started right here with the empty array, let's take this one back to the empty array and remove all of these elements inside here. So we're going to do numbers dot remove all. Hit play. Oh, because it's a let. So it's not going to let us change it because we set it to be a let. So let's go ahead and change that to var real quick. And there it is. Now let's play. And it's an empty array again. Now in the beginning, I was able to change it because I changed it up here. So when this was a let earlier, and I added numbers to it, I added it to this one up here. You know, so I actually started adding numbers like this, and you're able to do that because this is the main one. You can change this. You just can't change it down here. So I couldn't append to this one or add it from like index at. I couldn't do that down here because this is a let. But if you change this to a var, then you're able to. So now this remove all is going to take it here, and then again we'll do a print numbers again. Print numbers, and then play. You'll see it's an empty array. Okay, so that's how you do that. So again, we went over how to access the actual elements, add to the element, or add elements to the array, remove elements from the array, and actually went over in brief detail what arrays are in Swift. So I hope this was beneficial. And again, if you have any kind of questions or comments, please leave those below in the video, and I'll be sure to get to them as soon as I can.